12 species had sent their brightest students to watch the demonstration. They filled the viewing galleries of the Galactic Combat Academy, their various eyes and sensors focused on the training floor below. For 4,000 years, warriors from across the known universe had come to this station to learn the three pillars of combat science. It was mathematics. It was art. It was perfect. Petra Nowak sat in the back row, trying not to fall asleep. She was 34 years old, a former soldier from Poland, now working security on a cargo ship that hauled machine parts between Earth and 3 alien stations. When humanity made first contact 2 years ago, she had not expected her life to change much. She still woke up early, still checked her weapons twice a day, still preferred silence over conversation. But someone in the diplomatic corps had decided that Earth needed an observer at the academy, and someone else had decided that observer should be a soldier rather than a scientist. So here, she was watching aliens do math at each other. The young Palori beside her leaned close. His name was Ren, and his blue skin flickered with excitement. He was small, barely reaching her shoulder, with large dark eyes that never seemed to blink. The academy had assigned him as her guide. "This is Champion Voss," Ren whispered. "He has never lost a match. Watch how he applies the second pillar." On the training floor, a massive reptilian creature circled a combat drone. Voss was easily 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor plates, with arms thick as tree trunks. The drone floated opposite him, a silver sphere bristling with weapon appendages. The drone attacked first. It fired 3 energy bolts in a precise triangle pattern. Voss moved exactly enough to avoid each bolt, not a centimeter more. His counterattack came at the precise moment the drone's weapon cycled, striking with exactly the force needed to disable its shields. The watching aliens clicked and hummed their approval. "Force equilibrium," Ren explained. "Never use more energy than necessary. Never waste movement. The mathematics determine the perfect response to any attack." Petra nodded politely. She had questions, but she kept them to herself. After the demonstration, Instructor Doma approached her. The Verith was tall and thin, with 4 arms that moved constantly as he spoke. His species had created the 3 pillars 4,000 years ago, and Doma made sure everyone remembered this. "Human observer," he said. "You did not seem impressed." "I was impressed," Petra said. "Your face suggested otherwise." Petra shrugged. "Where I come from, we do things differently. Not better, just different." Doma's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Perhaps you would like to demonstrate?" The training drones can be set to basic levels. It would be educational for the students to see how a primitive species approaches combat. Petra looked at him for a long moment. Several students had gathered to watch. Ren was practically vibrating with anxiety beside her. "Sure," she said. They walked to the training floor. The galleries filled quickly as word spread. A human was going to fight. Most of these species had never seen a human move faster than a walk. Doma explained the rules. "The drone will use basic pillar protocols. It will predict your movements and respond with appropriate force. Simply do your best. There is no shame in quick defeat." Petra stepped into the ring. The drone activated, its sensors sweeping over her body. She could almost hear it calculating, measuring her height and weight, analyzing her muscle density, predicting her likely attack vectors. "Begin when ready," Doma announced. The drone began its approach. Its movements were precise, mathematical, perfect. It circled to her left, positioning itself according to some formula she could not see. Petra reached under her jacket and pulled out 2 pistols. The entire auditorium went silent. "Observers are not permitted weapons," Doma said, his voice sharp. "Security personnel are," Petra replied. "Check your own rules." She did not wait for the drone to process this new information. She did not wait for anything. She fired both guns at once. The drone's combat processors had calculated thousands of possible attack patterns. It had analyzed her stance, her eye movements, the tension in her muscles. It knew, mathematically, where she would strike. The IT had not calculated that she would strike from 2 directions at the same time. The rubber training rounds hit its sensor array from 2 angles. The drone froze. Its hover systems kept it in the air, but its weapon arms dropped to its sides. Ren made a small sound. Petra looked up at the galleries and saw hundreds of aliens staring at her with expressions she could not read. "What happened?" she asked. Doma approached the drone slowly, as if it might explode. He examined its status display, and his 4 hands began to tremble. "Its prediction systems have crashed," he said quietly. "The 3 pillars calculate sequential attacks, one movement then the next. The mathematics do not account for simultaneous independent targeting. So it just stopped. It could not calculate a response." Doma turned to face her. His earlier arrogance had cracked, and something else showed through. Something that looked like fear. No species attacks from 2 directions at once. It is inefficient. It wastes energy. It violates the 2nd pillar. Petra looked down at her pistols. "Where I come from, efficiency is not always the point." From somewhere in the upper galleries, an ancient voice spoke. The words echoed through the auditorium, silencing all other sound. "Bring me this human." Ren grabbed her arm. His grip was surprisingly strong for such a small creature. "That is Grand Arbiter Solemn," he whispered. "He has not spoken in 30 years. Petra holstered her weapons and followed the guards who appeared at her side. Behind her, the broken drone continued to hover in place, its perfect mathematics shattered by something it could not understand. The Grand Arbiter's chamber sat at the heart of the station, behind doors that had not opened in 3 decades. Petra walked between 2 guards, her boots echoing on floors made of some material that felt like glass but did not crack. Ren followed at a distance, too curious to stay behind, too afraid to walk beside her. The doors opened without sound. Grand Arbiter Solemn was old. That was the first thing Petra noticed. His Varith shell had faded from black to gray, and his 4 arms moved slowly, as if underwater. But his eyes were sharp. They fixed on Petra the moment she entered. "You broke my drone," he said. "I apologize." "Do not apologize. Explain." Petra thought for a moment. "On Earth, we have many predators. They attack from above, from below, from the sides. Sometimes several at once. We learn to fight the same way. Simultaneous independent targeting," Solemn said. "Your 2 arms operate as separate combat units." "I never thought about it that way. I just trained until it felt natural." Solemn made a sound that might have been laughter. 4,000 years ago, my species created the 3 pillars because we feared chaos. We built a system that could predict any attack and calculate the perfect response. We believed we had mastered combat. It looked impressive, Petra offered. "It is incomplete." Solemn rose from his chair with effort. "I've suspected this for centuries. Combat in the real universe does not follow mathematics. It is messy, unpredictable, chaotic. But I could never prove the pillars were missing something. Until today." He gestured, and a door opened in the far wall. Through it, Petra could see another training arena, larger than the first. "I am going to ask you to do something that has never been done," Solemn said. "I want you to face our advanced drones. Not to defeat them, but to show my students what they cannot see. Will you do this?" Petra looked at the arena, then back at the ancient arbiter. "What if I hurt someone? The drones are machines. They can be rebuilt. I meant, what if I hurt someone's feelings?" That instructor did not seem happy with me. Solemn's eyes glittered. "Doma is young. He has built his entire identity on the pillars being perfect. But truth matters more than comfort. Will you help me show the truth?" Petra nodded. The arena filled quickly. Word had spread through the entire station. A human was going to fight advanced drones. Either she would be destroyed and prove the pillars supreme, or something impossible would happen. Doma stood at the front of the viewing gallery, his arms crossed. Beside him, Champion Voss watched with an expression that Petra could not read. "First challenge," Solemn announced. "Standard advanced combat drone. Full pillar protocols." The drone that emerged was different from the first. It was larger, faster, and its weapons were not set to training mode. Petra would not be killed, but she would definitely feel pain if she failed. IT began circulating her immediately, its sensors running complex calculations. It learned from the first drone's failure. It expected simultaneous attacks now. Petra watched it move. Then she did something the drone had not predicted. She put one gun away. The drone's calculations shifted. One weapon meant one attack vector. Its confidence increased. Petra fired 3 shots with her remaining pistol. The drone dodged them perfectly, as she knew it would. But while it was dodging, she was moving too. Not away from it. Toward IT.by the time it realized what she was doing, she was inside its defensive perimeter. She pulled her second gun and pressed it directly against its central processor. "Does this count as simultaneous targeting?" she asked. The drone tried to recalculate, but could not move without shooting itself. Its systems locked up. Petra stepped back and holstered both weapons. In the gallery. Ren was writing notes, so fast his hands blurred. Again, Solemn commanded. The second drone was faster. It had shields. It kept its distance. Petra let it shoot at her. She rolled, ducked, moved in patterns that seemed random, but kept her always one step ahead of its predictions. The drone grew frustrated. Its calculations told it where she should be, but she was never there. She threw one of her pistols at its sensor array. The drone tracked the thrown weapon, calculating its trajectory. Simple physics. Easy to predict. IT did not predict that Petra would shoot her own thrown pistol in midair, changing its direction at the last moment. The pistol struck the drone's shield generator. The shields dropped. Before they could reactivate, Petra had crossed the distance and pressed a remaining weapon against its core. "Yield?" she asked. The drone's lights flickered and died. Silence hung over the arena. Then, slowly, Champion Voss began to click his claws together. It was applause. Other students joined him. The sound grew until it filled the space like thunder. Doma did not applaud. He stared at Petra with something between horror and fascination. Solemn raised one ancient arm, and the crowd fell silent. "What you have seen today cannot be explained by the 3 pillars," he announced. The human does not fight in sequential patterns. She does not calculate and respond. She exists in chaos and moves through it like water through sand. He turned to look at Petra, and his old eyes were wet. "Tomorrow, we will hold a formal trial. The human will face our greatest challenges, not to defeat her, but to understand her. The pillars have guided us for 4,000 years. Perhaps it is time they grew." Petra collected her thrown pistol from the floor. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. She had come here as an observer, nothing more. Now she was about to become a lesson. Ren found her in the observation lounge before dawn. Petra sat alone, watching the stars drift past the station's massive windows. She had not slept. "The whole station is talking about you," Ren said, settling into the seat beside her. "Some say you have special technology hidden in your guns. Others say humans can see the future." Petra smiled slightly. "I just shoot things. That is not what happened, and you know it." Ren pulled out his notes from the day before. "I have been studying your movements. You do not follow any pattern I can identify. Your choices seem random, but they work perfectly. How? I do not know how to explain it. On Earth, we do not think about fighting the way you do. We just react. React to what? Everything. All at once." Ren was quiet for a long moment. "That sounds exhausting. You get used to it." The trial began 2 hours later. The Grand Chamber was the largest space in the Academy, capable of simulating any environment. Today, it was configured as a simple arena, but Petra knew that would change. 12 species filled the observation galleries. Some had traveled for days to witness this. A human fighting the pillars. Either she would fail and prove the mathematics supreme, or something unprecedented would occur. Solemn stood at the center of the arena, his ancient voice amplified by speakers hidden in the walls. The trial consists of 3 challenges. The first will test the human's ability to face multiple opponents. The second will test her against our greatest warrior. The third will test her mind. Each challenge is designed not to defeat her, but to teach us. We are students today, not judges. Petra stepped into the arena. She wore the same clothes as yesterday, simple and practical. Her pistols hung at her sides. "Challenge 1, Solemn announced. 5 combat drones, advanced coordination protocols. They will work as a single unit, sharing information and covering each other's blind spots. Begin." The drones descended from the ceiling in perfect formation. They spread out immediately, forming a pentagon around Petra. Each one could see what the others saw. Each one knew exactly where their companions were aiming. Petra did not move. The drones closed in slowly, their weapons tracking her center mass. Their sheer mathematics calculated a perfect net. No matter which direction she moved, at least 3 drones would have clear shots. She took one step to the left. The formation adjusted instantly. The net remained perfect. She took another step. Again, perfect adjustment. Ren leaned forward in his seat. She is testing them, he whispered to no one in particular. Petra nodded to herself, as if confirming something. Then she ran directly at the nearest drone. The formation collapsed. The drones were programmed to maintain the net, but the net required distance. When Petra closed that distance to 0, their mathematics broke. The drone she charged could not fire without hitting her, and if she was at close to one drone, the others could not fire without hitting their companion. She grabbed the drone and spun it around, using its body as a shield. The other 4 tried to reposition, but she moved with the captured drone, always keeping it between her and at least 2 of its companions. Then she pushed it. The drone stumbled into another drone. Their collision disrupted their shared connection for half a second. Half a second was enough. Petra shot 2 of them before the remaining pair could recalculate. She threw her empty pistol at the 3rd, then dove for the 4th, rolling beneath its weapons and coming up inside its guard. When it was over, 5 drones lay broken on the arena floor. Petra stood among them, breathing hard but unhurt. The galleries erupted. Not all of the sounds were approving. Some species hissed or clicked in ways that suggested anger. The pillars could not be wrong. This human must be cheating somehow. Solemn raised his arms for silence. Challenge 1 is complete. The human did not fight 5 opponents. She made them fight each other. Their greatest strength became their weakness. He turned to the galleries. This is what the pillars cannot see. When opponents coordinate, they create rules. Rules can be broken. Champion Voss rose from his seat in the front row. His massive body cast a shadow over the students beside him. Grand Arbiter, he said, I request permission to serve as Challenge 2. The galleries fell absolutely silent. Voss had never lost a match. He had studied the pillars since childhood and mastered them in ways no one else had achieved. He was not just a champion. He was the living proof that the mathematics worked. Solemn looked at Petra. Do you accept this opponent? Petra looked at Voss. He was 3 times her size, covered in natural armor, with claws that could tear metal. Every cell in her body told her to refuse. Yes, she said. Voss descended to the arena floor. His footsteps made the ground shake. He stopped 3 meters from Petra and studied her with eyes that had seen 1,000 battles. I do not wish to hurt you, he said quietly, but I must understand. The pillars have been my life. If they are incomplete, I need to know why. Petra nodded. Then let us find out together. They bowed to each other. The second challenge began. Voss moved first. For something so large, he was impossibly fast. His clawed hand swept toward Petra in a precise arc that the first pillar had calculated perfectly. It would catch her regardless of which direction she dodged. Petra did not dodge. She dropped flat to the ground, letting the claw pass over her head, then rolled between his legs. Voss spun, faster than she expected. His tail swept low, forcing her to jump. While she was in the air, his second hand struck. She twisted, taking the blow on her shoulder instead of her chest. Pain flared, but she kept moving. She landed behind him and drew her pistols that he was already turning, already anticipating. Her first shot hit his armored chest and bounced away. Her second shot he caught with his bare hand. Impressive, Voss said. You adapt quickly. You caught a bullet. The pillars predicted its trajectory. Catching was simply a matter of positioning. Petra circled him slowly. He was not like the drones. He learned. Every move she made, he filed away and adjusted his calculations. The longer this fight continued, the better he would become at predicting her. She needed to do something he could not predict. Your armor is beautiful, she said. Voss paused. What? The plates on your shoulders. Are they natural, or do you polish them? For a fraction of a second, Voss's combat focus flickered. He was trying to process her question while simultaneously maintaining his defensive calculations. The pillars did not account for small talk during battle. They are natural, he said carefully. Why do you ask? On Earth, we have creatures with similar armor. Crocodiles. They are ancient predators, very dangerous. Petra kept circling. When I was young, I saw one in a zoo. I thought it was the most frightening thing I had ever seen. What is a zoo? A place where we keep animals. People pay money to look at them. Voss's brow furrowed. His claws twitched. He was supposed to be fighting, but the human kept talking about zoos and crocodiles. His prediction algorithms were trying to determine if this was a combat strategy. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because I want you to understand something. Petra stopped circling. She stood directly in front of him, her pistols at her sides. The crocodile was scary because it was perfect. Millions of years of evolution made it the ultimate predator. It did not need to change. It did not need to learn. It simply was. Voss waited. You were like that crocodile, Petra continued. The pillars made you perfect. But perfection is not the same as completeness. A crocodile cannot laugh. It cannot wonder. It cannot choose to be something other than what it is. Combat does not require laughter. Maybe that is the problem. She holstered her pistols. The galleries erupted in confused murmurs. She was surrendering her weapons in the middle of the fight. The pillars identified this as either suicide or deception. Voss chose deception. He lunged, his calculations telling him this was a trap. Petra sidestepped. Not perfectly, not mathematically. She simply moved where her instincts told her to move. Voss's claws missed her by centimeters. He spun for another attack. She ducked under it. When I was 7, she said, still talking as she dodged, my father taught me to fight. He was a soldier, like me. He said the most dangerous enemy is one who does not care about winning. Voss struck again. Petra rolled away. I asked him what that meant. He said that warriors who need to win will always follow patterns. They calculate. They optimize. They try to be perfect. Another strike. Another dodge. But someone who does not care about winning, they do whatever they want. They move without patterns. They fight without mathematics. They're chaos. Voss paused, breathing hard. For all his perfect technique, Petra had not taken a single hit since she holstered her weapons. She was not fighting him. She was dancing with him. I have analyzed your movements, he said. You have no pattern. You should be easy to predict, but you are impossible to catch. How? Petra smiled. Because I am not trying to beat you. I am trying to understand you. And that, she drew one pistol and fired at the ceiling above his head, is something the pillars never accounted for. Debris fell. Voss raised his arms instinctively to protect his eyes. Petra stepped forward and pressed her pistol against the soft skin beneath his chin. You know what I think, she said. I think you already knew the pillars were incomplete. You have been waiting for someone to show you what was missing. Voss stood frozen. The galleries were silent. The greatest champion in Academy history had a human's weapon at his throat. Slowly, Voss began to laugh. It was a deep sound, rumbling up from his chest like distant thunder. His whole body shook with it. Students in the galleries looked at each other in confusion. No one had ever heard Champion Voss laugh. Yield, he said. I yield. Petra stepped back. Voss remained standing, still laughing. You fight like madness given form, he said. And you are right. I have always known the pillars were incomplete. I just needed someone to prove it. From his seat, Grand Arbiter Solemn rose slowly. His ancient eyes were wet with tears. Challenge 2 is complete, he announced. And I believe Challenge 3 is no longer necessary. The human has shown us what we needed to see. He descended to the arena floor and stood before Petra. Would you be willing to teach us, he asked, to help us understand the fourth pillar? Before Petra could answer, an energy blast struck the floor beside her feet. In the galleries above, Instructor Doma stood with a weapon in each of his 4 hands. The pillars are sacred, he shouted, and I will not let this primitive destroy them. Chaos erupted in the galleries. Students scattered as Doma's followers revealed themselves, weapons appearing from beneath robes and behind seats. There were dozens of them, instructors and senior students who believed the pillars were sacred truth. Petra grabbed Ren and pulled him behind a fallen pillar. Voss shielded Solemn with his massive body as energy blasts rained down from above. They call themselves the Pillar Guardians, Ren gasped. I thought they were just a philosophy club. Philosophy clubs do not usually have weapons. More blasts struck around them. The arena's combat shields activated, protecting the main floor, but trapping them inside with falling debris. Solemn's voice crackled through the speakers. Doma, this is madness. Stand down. Madness is letting an alien destroy 4,000 years of truth, Doma replied. His voice came from everywhere, broadcast through the station systems. The pillars are not incomplete. The pillars are perfect. This human is a disease, and I will cure it. The station's lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in red shadow. He has control of the systems, Voss growled. We need to reach the central hub. Where is that? Petra asked. Ren pointed toward a maintenance tunnel on the far side of the arena. Through there. But there will be guardians between us and the hub. Petra checked her pistols. Full ammunition. She looked at Ren, small and trembling, at Voss, ready to fight, at Solemn, old and fragile. Can you fight? She asked Ren. I have never fought anything in my life. Good. That means you have no bad habits. She handed him one of her pistols. Point at what you want to hit. Squeeze the trigger. Do not think about it. That is insane advice. Welcome to human combat philosophy. They moved through the maintenance tunnel in single file. Voss went first, his bulk filling the narrow passage. Petra followed with Ren, and two Academy guards brought up the rear with Solemn between them. The first guardians appeared at a junction ahead. Two Verith instructors, weapons raised, blocking the path. Voss charged before they could fire. His armor deflected their shots, and his claws disabled their weapons with precise strikes. He did not kill them. He simply made them unable to fight. The pillars taught me control, he said as they passed the unconscious guardians. I do not waste life. They continued through corridors filled with flickering lights and distant sounds of fighting. Other students were resisting the guardians. The station had become a battlefield. Ren walked beside Petra, the pistol shaking in his hands. I do not understand why they are doing this, he said. The pillars are just mathematics. Why would anyone fight to protect mathematics? Because mathematics gave them certainty, Petra said. In a universe full of chaos, the pillars told them that combat could be predicted, controlled, understood. I showed them that was not true. I took away their certainty. But you did not attack them. You did not say their beliefs were wrong. Sometimes existence is enough to threaten someone. Petra paused at a corner listening. When I was young, my grandmother told me about people who believed the earth was flat. When scientists proved it was round, some of those people became angry. Not because they loved flat earth, because they hated being wrong. That seems childish. Being wrong feels like dying to some people. They will fight to avoid it. 3 more guardians waited around the corner. Petra moved before Ren could react. 2 shots, precise and fast, struck their weapons and sent them spinning away. A 3rd shot hit the ceiling, bringing down a panel that knocked all 3 unconscious. Ren stared at her. You did not kill them. They are not my enemies. They are scared. She retrieved her spent ammunition and reloaded. Fear makes people do terrible things. It does not make them evil. They reached the central hub 10 minutes later. The door was sealed, but Voss tore it open with his claws. Inside, Doma waited. He had Solemn in his grasp, one claw pressed against the old arbiter's throat. His other 3 hands held weapons pointed at the door. Stop, he commanded. Everyone stopped. The human will leave, Doma said. She will return her ship and never come back. If she does not, I will kill the Grand Arbiter. Petra looked at Solemn. The old Verith was calm, his ancient eyes fixed on her. Do not listen to him, Solemn said quietly. Truth matters more than my life. Silence. Doma pressed his claw harder against Solemn's throat. I built my life on the pillars. They told me that combat was mathematics. They told me that everything could be predicted. And then you appeared, human. You broke my drones. You defeated my champion. You made chaos where there should be order. His voice cracked. How am I supposed to live in a universe without rules? Petra took a step forward. Doma's weapons tracked her instantly. Stop, or I kill him. She stopped. Slowly, carefully, she reached down and placed her pistols on the floor. What are you doing? Ren whispered. Petra straightened and raised her empty hands. You are right, she said to Doma. The pillars work. They are beautiful mathematics. They gave you certainty in a universe of chaos. She took another step forward. But they are not complete, and that is not their fault. We're yours. Doma's hands trembled. His calculations told him to fire. But the human was not attacking. She was not fighting. She was walking toward him with empty hands and open eyes. Let me show you what is missing, she said. Petra walked toward Doma with her hand raised. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to fight, to dodge, to do something. But she kept walking. The 3 pillars, she said calmly, were created because your ancestors feared chaos. They wanted to control combat, to make it predictable, and they succeeded. For 4,000 years, warriors have trained in mathematics instead of madness, order instead of chaos. Doma's weapons tracked her every step. His breathing was rapid, his eyes wide. Stay back. But here's what they missed. Petra stopped just out of arm's reach. Chaos is not the enemy of order. It is its partner. Without chaos, order becomes rigid, brittle, unable to adapt. You build a perfect system, but perfect systems break when something unexpected happens. Like you, like me, like anything that does not follow the rules. She lowered her hands slowly. I do not fight with mathematics. I fight with instinct. I react to what is happening, not to what calculations say should happen. That is not cheating. That is the 4th pillar. Doma's claws trembled against Solemn's throat. There is no 4th pillar. There is now adaptive chaos, the ability to move with uncertainty instead of against it. Petra held out her hand. I am not here to destroy your pillars. I am here to complete them. You are lying. You want to tear down everything we built. If I wanted that, would I have surrendered my weapons? Doma stared at her extended hand. His calculations screamed contradictions. She was unarmed. She was vulnerable. Every pillar he knew demanded that he strike now, while she was defenseless, but she was not afraid. That was what broke him. 4,000 years of combat mathematics, and they had never encountered someone who walked into danger without fear. Not bravery pretending to be calm. Genuine peace. Genuine trust. I do not understand, Doma whispered. How can you be so calm when I could kill you? Because killing me would not make you right. Petra kept her hand extended. And you know that. You have always known. The pillars are beautiful, but they never explained everything. Every time you faced an opponent who did not follow the mathematics, you had to improvise. You had to adapt. You had to use something that was not in the teachings. Tears began to roll down Doma's face. His weapons lowered slightly. I spent my whole life mastering the pillars, he said. They gave me purpose. They gave me certainty. And now you tell me they were incomplete all along. Not incomplete. Growing. Petra took one more step forward. Knowledge is not a wall, Doma. It is a river. It changes. It expands. What you learned was true. It was just not finished. Doma looked at Solemn, still trapped in his grasp. The old arbiter gazed back with something like compassion. She is right, Solemn said quietly. I have known for centuries that something was missing. I was too afraid to admit it. Too proud. But the truth does not care about our pride. It simply is. Doma's grip loosened. Solemn stepped away gently, placing one ancient hand on his former student's shoulder. The pillars gave us 4,000 years of peace, Solemn said. They ended wars that had lasted millennia. They turned combat from slaughter into art. That is not nothing. That is a gift. But every gift can become a prison if we refuse to let it grow. The weapons fell from Doma's hands. He collapsed to his knees, sobbing, not from defeat, but from relief. The weight of certainty he had carried his entire life finally lifted. Petra knelt beside him. I did not come here to be your enemy, she said. I came here to deliver cargo. Everything else just happened. Doma laughed through his tears. You accidentally revolutionized galactic combat science. Earth is like that. We accidentally do a lot of things. Over the following hours, the Guardians surrendered. They were not punished. Solemn declared that fear of change was not a crime, only a mistake. The station returned to normal, but nothing would ever be quite the same. 1 week later, Petra stood in the Academy's Grand Hall. Representatives from all 12 species had gathered to witness something historic. The fourth pillar, Solemn announced to the Assembly, is adaptive chaos. It cannot be calculated. It cannot be predicted. It can only be practiced. We have invited the human Petra Nowak to serve as our first external instructor. Petra stepped forward. She looked at the gathered aliens, at Voss standing proudly in the front row, at Ren beside him taking notes as always, at Doma in the back, still healing but present. I appreciate the offer, she said, but I have to decline permanent residence. I am a cargo ship security officer. I like my simple life. She smiled. However, I will return periodically to help develop the new curriculum, and I have recommended my first student. She gestured to Ren. The small Pelori's blue skin flushed purple with surprise. He has never fought before, Petra continued. He has no pillar training to unlearn. He asks questions that masters forgot to ask. He is exactly what the fourth pillar needs. Ren looked like he might faint. Voss clapped one massive hand on his shoulder to steady him. Congratulations, Voss rumbled. You are going to change the galaxy. 3 days later, Petra's cargo ship departed Station Verlith 9. She stood at the window of the security office, watching the Academy shrink into the distance. Her captain appeared in the doorway. How was your vacation? Petra checked her 2 pistols, making sure they were clean and loaded. She holstered them and turned away from the window. Educational, she said. Behind her, the stars continued their ancient dance. Somewhere in that vast darkness, a small blue-skinned alien was learning to embrace chaos. Somewhere, a giant reptilian champion was teaching students to laugh during combat. Somewhere, an ancient arbiter was writing the first chapter of a new science. And Petra Nowak went back to guarding cargo, which was exactly what she wanted. Some people change the universe on purpose. Others just show up and do their job.